What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the Hoops and Stuff podcast. I'm your host, Isaac, and today we're going to be predicting the awards for this 2023-2024 NBA season. So we have MVP, Rookie of the Year, Most Improved Player of the Year, Defensive Player of the Year, Sixth Man of the Year, and we have Coach of the Year. So we're just gonna predict. We're gonna predict who's gonna be top three and who's gonna win it. And yeah, let's get right into the video. To start off, we have MVP, and my candidates for the MVP are number one, who I have winning, is Jason Tatum. Number two, I have Giannis, and then number three, I have Jokic or Embiid. I couldn't really pick between the two because I feel like they're pretty even, but it'll probably end up being Jokic if I had to guess. But I mean, Jason Tatum, obviously he hasn't won it yet, but every year he just gets better. I mean, last year he was averaging 30 points and 9 rebounds. So, Jason Tatum is playing at a pretty elite level. I mean, he only gets 5 assists per game, but I feel like he makes up for it on the offensive side. He can play a little bit of defense. He averaged 1 steal and 1 block per game. So I mean, he's a pretty solid player for this Celtics team. I do really like Jason Tatum, and I think that just because Giannis and Jokic and Embiid have all won MVPs already, I feel like they want it to be somebody else. And I feel like Jason Tatum, Giannis, Jokic, and Embiid, I feel like it's going to be a really hard pick between those four. But I feel like since, like I just said, Jason Tatum is the only person out of those four that hasn't won MVP, I think that they'll end up giving it to him, just because they want to see new players win it. But Jason Tatum, his team, he has a great team. Like, he's gonna have a good record with his team. He's a very good leader for the Boston Celtics, and I mean, he averages 30 points with Jaylen Brown on his team as well, who is also a big scorer. I mean, like, he's going to be getting less shot attempts if he has another all-star caliber player like Jaylen Brown on his team, which is why it's another reason why he should win MVP, because he just does so good when he has another all-star caliber player on his team like Jaylen Brown. Because if Jaylen Brown just signed his Supermax extension or whatever, and if he didn't sign that and he went to a different team, then Jason Tatum could probably average 35 points, because he's just going to be getting up more shots and he's going to be making more shots because Jaylen Brown's not going to be there, and he's going to have one less player that he has to worry about passing to, just because they're not going to be able to replace him with somebody that's like great like Jaylen Brown. Next up, we have Rookie of the Year, and my top three candidates are number one, who I have winning it, Scoot Henderson, number two, Victor Wembanyama, and number three, Chet Holmgren. And I feel like a lot of people are taking Victor Wembanyama here for Rookie of the Year, but I don't know, because like we've seen summer league games of Victor, and he just looks like a lazy player. Like, he doesn't get rebounds because like he's just lazy. He doesn't attempt to get rebounds. And number three, I have Chet Holmgren, like I said, because he didn't play at all last year, so that means that this year he will be able to win Rookie of the Year. But another big problem with him is that he could get injured very easily again. And that's the same thing with Victor Wembanyama. They're both very tall and very skinny, and it's going to be hard for them to stay healthy just because their bones are so fragile, just because like they're so thin. But Scoot Henderson is he's a very explosive player. He's kind of like Ja Morant, and everybody thought that Zion Williamson would win Rookie of the Year when he was drafted, but Ja Morant ended up winning it because Zion was hurt. And I feel like the same thing could happen with Victor Wembanyama. And I mean, I feel like it really depends on if Damian Lillard ends up getting traded or not. Like, I mean, he demanded a trade, but again, that doesn't mean that they have to trade him. He could end up just staying on the team if they don't find a package that they like. So it's really hard because like you just don't know how it's gonna play out. Like I feel like if Scoot does like end up being the starting point guard though, I feel like he will win Rookie of the Year just because I mean he can dunk over everybody. And I feel like like I said, Victor Wembanyama is too lazy, and I feel like Chet Holmgren could probably get hurt again. And I mean, another candidate that I was talking about, like that I was thinking about here, was maybe Brandon Miller. But I feel like just because he has LaMelo Ball on his team, and I know LaMelo Ball, he likes to shoot, and like so that means Brandon Miller is not going to be getting those shot attempts. And I feel like Scoot Henderson doesn't have a player like that's like, I mean, no disrespect to LaMelo, but I feel like Scoot Henderson doesn't have a ball hog on his team besides maybe, I mean, Damian Lillard, not too much of a ball hog. I mean, I feel like Scoot Henderson was going to do a lot better without Damian Lillard. But even if he does have Damian Lillard, I think that he'll do pretty decent. Next up, we have Most Improved Player, and my three candidates are number 1, who I have winning it, Jordan Poole. Number 2, Desmond Bane, and number 3, Scottie Barnes. Jordan Poole being traded is a big factor to this because the Warriors obviously he wasn't a full-time starter, but on the Wizards here, he's going to be a full-time starter, even if he's not happy. But I feel like he's going to be carrying this Wizards team on the offensive side of the ball, which is going to play a big role in this because he is going to be taking so many more shots than he was on the Warriors. And I feel like the only problem with Jordan Poole is his inconsistency. And when he was on the Warriors, he was a very inconsistent player. But I feel like maybe now that he's gonna be the best player on this Wizards team. So I feel like maybe now he could probably gain consistency. And Desmond Bane, I mean, I feel like Jordan Poole is just better than Desmond Bane, but Desmond Bane, he's not gonna have a job for the first third of the season, and he's still pretty young. I mean, I really like Desmond Bane, but I just don't think that he's going to be able to outshine Jordan Poole. And Scottie Barnes is just he's a young forward. I mean, he can play decent ball, but I don't know if he's going to be able to improve enough to where he could win Most Improved Player over Jordan Poole, because I think Jordan Poole is just going to be so much better this season than he was last season after the trade that took place with him and Chris Paul, where the Wizards traded Chris Paul for Jordan Poole. But like I said, like Jordan Poole is just a really good 3-point shooter, so I feel like he's going to be shooting more threes just because, I mean, you're leading a team that has 2 of the top probably 5 shooters of all time, Klay Thompson and Steph Curry. So you're going to be able to shoot more now. You're going to be able to shoot more now with those 2 not on the same team as you, which is why I do really like Jordan Poole for Most Improved Player. For Defensive Player of the Year, I feel like this is going to be a really hot take, and this is a pick that I could probably get hated on for, but number 1, who I have winning it, I gotta go with Anthony Davis. And number 2, I have Jaren Jackson Jr., who won it last year. And number 3, I have Jrue Holiday. And a lot of people are probably taking Jaren just because he was averaging like 3 blocks per game last season. But I just feel like Anthony Davis is a really underrated defender. And I mean, he just signed that contract with the Lakers, so maybe if he can stay healthy, maybe he will be able to win Defensive Player of the Year. I feel like he's just an underdog, and he's very overlooked when it comes to his defense. I mean, last year he was averaging 2 blocks per game and 1 steal, and he played 56 games. So I mean, like I said, if he can play enough games, because y'all know Anthony Davis is a big player to get injured, but if he can play enough games, then I think that he could do it. I mean, they also look at defensive rebounds, I'm pretty sure, and I mean, he gets 9 defensive rebounds per game. But I feel like it'll probably be mainly between him and Jaren, And we all know Drew Holiday is a lockdown defender, but I just don't know if he's going to be actually able to get it done. I feel like they usually pick bigs more, but that could be wrong. I'm just feeling like I feel like last year they picked Jaren Jackson Jr., but the year before that they picked Marcus Smart, and Marcus Smart was another player who I was thinking about for this list. And I actually was thinking about really 5 players for this list. I was thinking Anthony Davis, Jaren Jackson Jr., Drew Holiday, Giannis Antetokounmpo, and Marcus Smart. Just because all 5 of those players are elite defenders. And Marcus Smart, I feel like it's really going to be hard for him with Jaren on the team, because I feel like Jaren's going to be getting a lot of those blocks, and I feel like he's just going to be able to outshine Marcus Smart at the defensive end of the ball. And Giannis, I really don't know what to expect out of Giannis after that first round exit in the playoffs. I don't know how he's going to be mentally. I don't know if he's going to, and he's also getting older. I'm not saying he's super old, but he is 29, I want to say. I'm pretty sure Giannis is 29. And so, he's getting older. I'm not saying that that's old at all, but he still has many years left in the NBA. But let me just check this. He's 28. Okay, so Giannis is 28. And like I said, that's not old at all, but a lot of players, they'll start to retire around the age of 35. So I feel like, Anthony Davis is also older, but he's stayed pretty consistent on his defense throughout his career. He's averaged about 2 blocks every year and at least 1 steal every year. So, and his defensive rebounds, he had one of his best defensive rebounding years last year too. So I feel like Anthony Davis is a pretty solid underdog candidate for the defensive player of the year this year. For 6th man of the year, I put it between Chris Paul, Immanuel Quickley, and Gabe Vincent. And I feel like a lot of people are like, I don't know how to really say it, but I feel like a lot of people are not hating on Gabe Vincent, but they just underestimate Gabe Vincent. I guess you could put it that way. But my winner is Chris Paul. He's probably coming off the bench for the Warriors. It depends on how they end up playing the lineup, but it looks like he's going to probably be coming off the bench for the Warriors at their backup point guard. And I really liked the video quickly for the 6th man of the year coming into the year before the Chris Paul trade. But now that Chris Paul's probably going to be coming off the bench for Steph Curry, I do really like Chris Paul to win 6th man of the year. And after Gabe Vincent was traded to the Lakers, they have guards like D'Angelo Russell and Austin Reeves, but I feel like Gabe Vincent, he was doing great with Miami while Tyler Hero was out. But he has 2 other solid guards like Austin Reeves and D'Angelo Russell over him, so I feel like it's going to be really hard for him to actually be able to win it, but I think that he could be a solid candidate. I was thinking maybe Rui Hachimura too, but I ended up going with Gabe Vincent over Rui Hachimura because Rui did have a pretty good ending to his season last year, but I really like Gabe Vincent. I just don't think that he's going to be able to get it done. But Chris Paul is definitely going to be a solid player off this Warriors bench. Immanuel Quickley is another young guard that I do really like, and he was the number 2 candidate last year behind Malcolm Brogdon, but I feel like he's just gonna come just short again. But hopefully he does have a pretty good year because I do really like Immanuel Quickley, and I hope that one day he ends up being a starter. They have Jalen Brunson and RJ Barrett, but hopefully one day he becomes a starter. And for our final award, I have Coach of the Year. Who I have winning it at number 1 is Joe Mazzulla, the head coach of the Boston Celtics. And number 2, sorry, I was about to start explaining why. But number 2, I have Mike Malone, the Nuggets head coach. And number 3, I have Steve Kerr, obviously the Warriors head coach. And with Joe Mazzulla, I mean, he's coaching probably the best team in the league. And I feel like the Celtics are probably going to end up being the number 1 seed over the Milwaukee Bucks this year. So I feel like the Celtics are probably going to have maybe they'll definitely have less than 20 losses this season as long as the whole team stays healthy. Maybe they could possibly have under 15 losses, but I mean that's just really hard to do. But I mean I really do like the Celtics team though. But at number 2 I put Mike Malone just because I mean they're coming off of a championship. They're going to be a good team still. I mean the only player they really lost was Bruce Brown in free agency to the Indiana Pacers. But I mean, he still has Jokic. He still has Jamal Murray. He still has Aaron Gordon. He still has all these players who are pretty solid players. I mean, Jokic is obviously an MVP caliber player, but he has so many great players on that team. Jamal Murray is a really good point guard. He's really underrated. And after he came back from his injury, he wasn't doing as good as he used to, but I mean, he's still been performing pretty well. And I mean, obviously, Steve Kerr is explainable. I mean, you got Steph Curry, you got Klay Thompson, 2 of the best shooters of all time. I feel like if Chris Paul can adjust to the Warriors' style of play, that they could be a really good team, and they could be a really dangerous team. And I feel like Steve Kerr is a really good coach, and I feel like that all comes through Steve Kerr just because he has an elite level of coaching. But I just think I'm really stuck on Joe Mazzulla winning the Coach of the Year because I feel like he's just such a great coach for the Celtics, and they just win so many games. Like they're a great team, and I feel like MVP Jason Tatum is going to carry this team probably to the championship, honestly. That's going to be it for today's episode. If you guys enjoyed, leave a like and subscribe, and we'll see you guys next Sunday here on the Hoops and Stuff podcast.